It's law and disorder in liberal cities. Illinois Supreme Court overturning the conviction of hate crime hoaxer Jussie Smollett, ruling that special prosecutors' decision to retry the Empire actor violated his rights after left-wing Cook County, Illinois DA Kim Foxx gave Smollett a sweetheart deal and dropped the charges. So Smollett gets away with staging an attack where he hired a pair of Nigerian brothers who shouted, "This is MAGA country," while putting a noose around his neck and pouring bleach on him. Here's a refresher of what went down.
So I saw him out the corner of my eye, and I was like, okay, that's him. Let's go. We gotta go get this Empire Yeah, that's him. That's him. Is that him?
That's that neck.
And that's when we started yelling the famous slurs he wanted us to yell. Hey!
Aren't you that Empire
Empire Nick? It's MAGA country.
Here's what Jussie's attorney had to say.
This was a vindictive persecution, not a prosecution. Let's not make any mistake about that. Jussie is back to where he was. He's presumed innocent. Even though this is over now and Jussie absolutely wants to move his life forward, I think people should start asking questions. How did this happen? Why should this even happen? What can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again? And what were the facts that we never bothered to look at because everyone was distracted with public opinion?
And that's not the only liberal city injustice. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg has been wasting time and money prosecuting a Good Samaritan like Daniel Penny, while dangerous criminals run wild through the city he oversees. Just this week alone, a tourist getting slashed in a random attack, a homeless man with ice picks shoving an elderly victim, a career criminal got killed in an NYPD shootout, and a homeless maniac with 8 priors randomly stabbing 3 people to death. Okay, Judge Jeanine, please explain this court decision in Illinois.
Well, the court said that they made this decision based not on the merits of the case, not on the substance of the case, but the fact that Kim Foxx, there had been a grand jury indictment, and Kim Foxx did what we call a null pros, which means you don't admit to doing it or, committing the crime itself. And as part of that null pros, he was going to agree to a forfeiture of the $10,000 bail that was set. That then was considered a resolution of the case because a null pros is a plea. And so when the special prosecutor comes in and indicts, they say, no, you can't do that. You don't get 2 bites at the apple. It's double jeopardy. This is a situation where we're not taking a position on whether he lied and what he did and what the stress or the problems that he caused for the city and the police department. It's just a procedural mechanism that should not have occurred based upon the fact that it was null pros and there was a resolution where his bail was forfeited.
And do you agree legally with that
decision?
Yeah,
I do. Okay. I do. I mean, that's just a fair way to do it. But, he's not the most important person in the segment. I mean, when you hear about all these people running around free and able to be on the streets after they stab and kill people, and they randomly select a victim, whether it's a nurse or someone who's working in a bodega, and they're free to walk around. And I've been in the trial downtown at 100 Center Street watching the Danny Penny trial, where you've got a guy who's been indicted by Alvin Bragg. His case is being put ahead of everybody else's case. And today was an incredible day for the defense with a medical examiner who just did circles around the prosecution medical examiner, who apparently was making up some things that this expert medical examiner had never heard of, like a jugular choke. He said there's nothing in the literature about this. He said, I've never heard of it. But, I mean, this is what's happening. It's the politicization of the criminal justice system, where this guy, Danny Penny, who was a savior to everybody on that train, who thought they were going to die, when a guy ends up coming on and says, I'm going to kill somebody, I don't care if I go back to jail for life, everyone was petrified. And the last thing I'll say is that, we owe this guy a debt of gratitude for what he did. And the medical examiner, by the way, made it clear that he died of sickle cell, as well as being in a psychotic episode, as well as a toxicity from the cannabinoid, a K2, which was similar to a cocaine.
Harold Ford Jr.
Glad to be back with everybody. Thanks for having me. I cannot agree with the judge any more than I ever have. we spent a lot of time disagreeing, but I thought the way you characterized what happened in Illinois is exactly right. And I hope whatever people may think about the underlying facts that made the original resolution or the initial resolution of the case, maybe that should not have been what happened, but it is what happened. And legally, he was entitled to the decision that the Supreme Court rendered. We have a new police commissioner in the city, Jessica Tisch, who I wish nothing but the very best. She's had a big job over the many years developing and implementing all of the new technology and innovation at the police department. I wish her the best as she now has the day-to-day, hand-to-hand combat job of dealing with crime in our city. I agree with you on Daniel Penny as well. What I've seen in the trial, I'm not in the courtroom like you are, but what I've read and all the public narratives I've been able to construct and bring together, I'm not seeing anything that suggests that he didn't act within his own right. Trial's not over yet. We will see. But I think your analysis around it, I've been watching you, has been excellent. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Harold.
Thank you for that.
Why don't you guys just kiss?
Stop it.
Jesse.
Let's put the legal stuff aside. You know, you see a guy like Jussie Smollett, everybody knows what he did. Even the witnesses said he did what he did. And he doesn't really have to face the kind of justice that a lot of Republicans have to face with made-up charges and messed up prosecutions.
He was in jail for 6 days. He was supposed to do 50 days. What bothers me the most about this Jussie Smollett case, based on what you just said, is the sheer lack of humiliation and embarrassment on the part of this individual. He needs to come forward and say, look, I used up police resources. I made up a story. I was worried about my job. I can't put words in the mouth. Whatever he wants to say. When you watch the Ossendario brothers, I mean, it is a hilarious, right, embarrassing, but abuse of the use of law enforcement, of legal, wrapping up this in a legal way. We need to have shame sometimes in our lives and in this country. And when you do something this embarrassing, egregious, I don't know where he found the wherewithal to go on ABC and to say, tell this whole story. And he's got a little tear in his eye, and I left the rope around my neck because I forgot it was there. I mean, and then, Robin Roberts is like patting him on the knee. I'm so sorry. Kamala Harris comes out and says, you're the victim of a modern day lynching, and no one should be judged on the basis of their sexuality. Wake up. Wake up, everybody. I mean, this is a very embarrassing thing, and I would like to see a little embarrassment evident.
That's not happening.
Not here, anyway.
You've made this point before. Remember the time period this was happening. This country was like a tinderbox, Greg. If this thing had actually gone the way he wanted it to go, who knows what would have happened.
This is a bigger crime than what he was even... He was trying to foment a race war. And we talk about hate crimes. Well, a hate crime hoax is a hate crime. It was a hate crime against whites. And this case was important because it was providing an incentive against committing hoaxes, and now that evaporates. Now there are no disincentives for fomenting race wars, racial division, or hate crimes. It's just I can't remember how many hate crime hoaxes actually ended up with a punishment. They always say they seek psychiatric counseling. This guy admitted basically to guilt by forfeiting bail. So he is guilty. But I want to talk about the crime. There's an unholy pattern. It's a three-step pattern that happens with crime, immigration, and even with trans radicalism. 1, something bad is allowed to happen. 2, nothing is done about it as it grows. 3, finally something is done, whether it is Daniel Penny or someone else, and then the media industrial complex cares. When you reach the third step, which is action, then they pay attention, then they follow the law, then they arrest Daniel Penny. They're fine with the first 2, but then it's a crisis when there's actually someone who steps in. Daniel Penny took the third step, which was action, a place where Alvin Bragg has never been to. He happily lives in the first 2, coddling criminals, releasing them to an unsuspecting public, including his own employees. One of his own prosecutors was assaulted by a sex maniac. As long as you enable these policies without experiencing the risk, you will always seek to punish the people who are willing to take action. And this pattern is in everything: immigration, in crime, in dealing with hate crime hoaxes. It's fine until there's action, and then they care.
Well, that was great action by the Nigerian brothers. It goes without saying that acting.
They have
there,
a future.
They have a future, and bravo to Fox Nation.
Fox and Friends Midnight, a new show.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.